Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Podchaser, Rumble, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So that's what you're getting on this show. No gossip, no scandal, and no K words. No Kardashian talk, no Kanye talk at all, even though that every other day someone says, you look like the Kardashian mom. And I say, that's kind of ironic because we do not talk about that. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And this is show number 814. Believe it or not, I am so grateful to all of my supporters, all the people who work behind the scenes at KCAA to make this happen, and all of my past guests, including a returning guest. You may see him on the screen now. He is my resident Amanda Gorman. Pluto Brown is his name. He's a teaching artist, a peer mentor, and board member. Writing was his best friend when he was alone, medicine when he was sick, and everything in between. He appreciates being able to share openly with his medium because it helps connect to all the times those feelings we're dealing with. I recognize them. So please welcome to my studio, Pluto Poet Pluto Brown. Hold on. I'm going to get you your applause. Here we go. Oh, great. I am so delighted to have you back in studio, Pluto.
Yes, thank you. It's good to be back with you. How is everything?
It's amazing and wonderful and beautiful. And, technology continues to be incredible when it works.
Right? And terrible when it doesn't.
Yeah. But I got here in time for your introduction. Thanks, Polly, for stepping in there. And I want to start something new that I started since you were here last time. Mm-hmm. I think that was a year ago, March. Can you believe that much time has passed?
Yeah.
So you are going to have breakfast with me. Uh-huh. So yes, it's called Taking a Bite of My Gratitude Sandwich. Nice. So 8 specific things that you're grateful for. You get 4, I get 4. The only rule is you can't say friends and family because that's too general, right? So I want to say I am grateful that I have flexible sound engineer behind the scenes, Polly, who is able to help out when I can't log on. Nice. And what's your gratitude?
I will say I am grateful for just resilience and being able to bounce back.
Great. I am grateful for my wonderful guest, Pluto Brown, who is able to come and join me today to have breakfast with me.
Thank you. I am grateful for my support system that is in place and that I can count on them when I need to.
Great. And one person in name for that?
My brother, my big brother, Bilal.
Great. That's specific. I am grateful for a pool in my building that I can do laps before the show.
Nice. I am grateful for my able-bodiedness. I went through a bit of an accident earlier this year, and so I'm glad to be back running and moving around and doing cartwheels.
What happened?
I got hit on my moped on my way home from work. So.
Oh, that's not good. Did you break stuff?
No, it was really bad road rash. Took about a month and some change, almost 2 months to get back to work and full swing. So.
Oh, was the person not paying attention?
Yeah, they came over into my lane to make a right turn to go back and get tacos at the taco truck we had just kind of flown past. So.
Oh, ouch, ouch.
Yeah.
Oh,
tacos took me out.
Well, there's a story, right? Yeah, I got road rash, but it was more my fault. I was going down a hill on rollerblades. I used to be called the roller mom, and this truck that I thought was stopped, you know, those giant trucks that usually stop in the middle, right, to deliver. Well, it was stopped, so I started down the hill, and I'm a little bit of a daredevil, so I'm like, like an incline like this in Hermosa Beach, and then the truck started moving and turning left into, so I had to stop, and I couldn't stop with my brakes. So I sat down and slid. I picked out gravel from my butt for probably a week.
Yeah.
So when you said road rash, that was like, oh, okay, I know that.
Yeah, there was a few pebbles that were stuck in my knee that I didn't really know were there.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. All right. Last gratitude for me is for my satellite sister, Akuyoe Graham, who really is, I know we're big fans of her, and she pulled off an amazing fundraiser, again, event online on Friday. And it was wonderful. As usual, I get front row seats and love supporting this organization. And as a result, meet people like Poet Pluto. So that's my last gratitude. Your last gratitude is?
Well, I can definitely piggyback that one. Mama Akuyoe is in my support system. So, but I will say that I am thankful for the opportunities and the experiences that I've been able to have, mostly by way of, the folks that I do work with. And so Spirit Awakening has been a big part of that.
Fantastic. All right. And now we go to the bottom of the bun. And this is what a discipline that people who have problems sleeping, I suggest to, because normally people at the end of the night are thinking about what they didn't get that done, what went wrong, who done them wrong. And it's no wonder we don't sleep well. Because we're usually scrolling through this too, right? And it's mostly bad news. So the practice is, and you started it already, which is great. Some people have a difficult time appreciating who they are. And I believe that if you don't love yourself, you're going to have a difficult time through life, because you're always going to have your antenna up looking for likes. Literally, who likes me, who approves of me, who respects me, who's saying nice things, and who likes me literally on social media. So instead of that, I replace it with, what are 4 for you, Pluto, appreciations that you know specifically about yourself that you can affirm, so that you're anchored in who you are instead of what other people think of you. And that way, everybody gets a better night's sleep. So I promise that if you do the top of the bun in the morning and the bottom of the bun at night, your days will be drastically different than they are now. But I'm sure you already do this, but we're just going to do what we would do tonight. What do you appreciate about yourself? And I'll start. I appreciate my good humor. I love to find things to laugh at, because laughter is my favorite sound in the world.
Mm-hmm. And it is the best medicine too. So
yes, it is.
I think I appreciate just being able to compartmentalize and still try to keep bringing the good energy to, wherever I go, for the most part, to work and to these places where I bring these services. But I think that's something that I definitely appreciate about myself. And sometimes that that energy and upbeatness can be infectious, and sometimes we need that. So
Absolutely. I appreciate that I am a good problem solver.
I appreciate, similar to your first, being able to make people laugh and put smiles on people's faces.
Absolutely. I appreciate that I am, let's see, I'm a stylistic. I'm a fashionista. I love using creativity for my outfits.
I appreciate that. I learned this in one of my very first jobs, but I've taken this with me to every other position that I've had. I will never ask somebody to do something that I will not do myself. So for the most part, I will probably just not ask them to do it and just go do it.
Yeah. I'm gonna piggyback on that one, and the downside of that is I know I'm self-aware that I'm a recovering perfectionist, which means that's the downside of having to do everything yourself, and because it's just easier. But sometimes it's probably better if you try to let other people, and ask for help. But the name of my show, right? Take my advice, I'm not using it. So that's definitely in there. I say it, but I do my best.
Yeah, there we go. We try to take
yes, we do
that advice. Yes.
And then your last one.
I appreciate just me being able to be flexible and kind of roll with the punches, so that I definitely appreciate by myself.
Fantastic. And that is it for today's breakfast with Dr. Marissa and Poet Pluto Brown here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. Thank you so much for playing along. And that is how I've been starting the show, probably in the last 8 months since you've been on. And it's a great way. Instead of asking you if you remember, the last question I used to ask is, to who or what are you most grateful for? I asked you that when you were on before. So now, people love that question. So now I moved it to the front of the show and we just start with gratitude. So thanks for playing along. Pluto did not know he was going to be doing that.
I did not, but I do appreciate the waking up and jumping into that one.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so let's get started. We are going to launch into your poetry that is so amazing and magnificent, and I just love it. And you've done more work, and I'm sure you've chosen at least one to share with us today. And I can't wait to hear it, because the way that your words inspire images of hope and understanding are truly magnificent. So without further ado, could you tilt your camera just up just a bit so that, nope, the other way. So there's a little, yes, we want to see your, what is that thing called?
The chin stick.
The chin stick. Yeah, I meant to ask you that last time. I've never I figured there was a term for it.
I want to come up with something.
Oh, that's not what other people call it?
I don't think there's very many people walking around with one.
I'm going to have to come up with, I love playing with words, and chin stick is not as elegant or as unique as it looks. So I'll come back to you.
Yeah, let me know what you come up with.
Wonderful. So here we go. Without further ado, my staff, Amanda Gorman, Poet Pluto Brown.
It's funny. Last year we talked about how kids don't grow in a locked room and roses don't bloom in the dark, but we also can't read in the dark. However, for some reason, we think that we can judge a book by its cover or a sinner by their scars, when none of these should have ever come to be a found art. You know, whether we were digging deep or digging hard, we've never found anything without a little bit of light. Like that whatchamacallit you found the other night when you were feeling and fumbling around, you were only able to find because you lit up that room with your mind, right? Exactly. So sometimes the light we need doesn't need to come from a cell phone or the sky, but inside. Taste teasers.
That was beautiful. I thought it was going to be longer, so I
Yeah.
didn't come back on. That's beautiful. Now, what's that one called?
This one was actually in honor of luminosity. So of sharing the light that we all have within us and trying to basically just pass that light on. You know, it's hard when it's almost if when we start off this journey of life, right? I forgot where I came across this, but we start off with a very clear windshield, you know, and then as we start going through life, you know, as we know, we've all driven cars, stuff starts to hit your windshield and it clouds your vision and starts to taint the way you see things, right? And so being able to pass along this light to another person and remind them that we are still, you know, valuable, we are still people, and we are still connected to each other is essentially what, you know, spreading or reflecting light is. And so that's what we were shooting for.
Beautiful. And you were with your peers that performed. I think there were 2 or 3 other
Yes.
poets. Yes. And please give them my kudos for the work that they did and what they shared, the words that they shared. It was really, really amazing. Now, for those of you who missed the first time that I interviewed Pluto, I think it's a good foundation to sort of understand how Pluto became a poet and where he came from, and how Spirit Awakening Foundation is a place. We heard from Akuyo when she was here last week. I don't know if you heard her interview.
Mhm.
And I did not know that her passion and her heart breaking open at the sight of young girls and boys in handcuffs and chains on their feet walking through juvenile hall was the impetus for her to begin this work 27 years ago, which I had not heard that part of the story. And I could, as she was describing it and the emotion and understanding now why she's so passionate, is she said, not on my watch, not while I'm alive. I'm not allowing this to happen. She just began going to juvenile hall and different places where young people were incarcerated, and just began to sit with y'all and
Yes.
talk and talk. And so tell me sort of where you were when you, right before you met Akuyo, what your state of mind was, and then what happened. And I know that's like a day worth of story.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you.
Get this sweat off of my face for a second.
Sure.
Jump into this story.
Yes,
right.
Please.
So when I met Mama Akuyo, I was in Silmar Juvenile Hall, and I was in the boys' shoe unit. I was on the shoe unit because when I had gotten arrested, I was on a lot of different psychotropic medications because of my hospitalizations at the hospitals. And so when Mama Akuyo came in, she had written her information down on the back of some other business card that I had, and I taped it to the back of my notebook, and I swear I took that to every facility that I was in until I went to YA, and then through until I got out. So that was how we met. And when she walked in, it was just this like breath of fresh air, you know. I don't know if you've ever driven through like a,
Bad
um, yeah,
smelling street.
or actually we can all relate to this one in Los Angeles, at least the smell after the rain, how refreshing that is. It was a lot like that, after smelling the freaking Dial soap and, terrible food and stinky feet all day. And then you have Mama Akuyoe come in with this breath of fresh air and this light, and everything that she said was true, every, commitment that she gave to help me when I was returned to society, and every opportunity that she said she might be able to help me with has come through. And so being able to, having that assurance, and being able to believe in somebody when you pretty much get spoon-fed a lot of BS in there, was probably one of the most moving things. It's that genuineness and that authenticity that, that's what keeps the youth like coming back to Spirit Awakening. A lot of the times, like outside of the juvenile hall, the programs that we have in some of the schools, these kids have to wake up on the weekends, to wake up early on the weekends to get to this class. So they're sacrificing bits of their weekend and their schedule for something that they want to do. And so I think that alone, yeah.
So let me go back, if you don't mind telling me what crime did you commit that led you to psychotropic drugs? I mean, that's a story there. But so you grew. Let me even go back further. So tell me, and I specifically want to do this not because I want anybody to feel sorry for you or for, to put blame anywhere else, but I do want to address Moose on the Table, which is my Canadian version for Elephant in the Room. I want to hammer in the understanding that if you do the crime, you do the time, is such a stupid, damaging, non-systemic understanding of crime, juvenile hall, a system that is not helping, that continues to grow, our prison system, that doesn't get at healing at all, doesn't address, what true rehabilitation is. So that's why I want to ask. You were born in LA?
Yes.
To a home where?
I was raised with my mother. My father was working in another state, but still very present and supportive.
Okay. And what was your first mindset that led you down that other path?
When I first started my bit of mischief, I was just out late at night. And so I started with breaking into cars and ended up with armed robbery. And while it wasn't a real gun, I had priors. And so I knew what it looked like. I was raised with, you're born a black male, you're 2 strikes coming out of the womb. So me in the back of the squad car with priors telling them it was a BB gun, it wasn't gonna work. So I took the punches and rolled with it. But
were you with a group? This was where you were you had a partner.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was it out of mischief is usually more, kids getting into trouble just because they can. But was it out of, I want to get into your head.
It started with mischief, and then it ended up with, so just totally divulging like everything. It started with that, just kind of breaking into cars. And actually, I didn't even have tools to do it. I started to cut through the rooftops of convertibles. And then it went to like burglaries, right? I only went through people's houses because that's where I knew the car keys were. I like going
okay. So was it a sense of they have and I don't have? in hindsight, like that, because I can't believe that you were born bad, because I only know you on this side. So what was the BS, the belief system that sort of led to, I'm going to take what's not mine. I'm going to, was it anger? Was it hatred? Was it, what was it?
I think it was just really wanting, I guess, more, you know. I was I didn't really think that I, didn't have much. And I know I had everything that I needed, but
You
I
saw
didn't
that
want
there
to
was
ask.
others that had more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and where did you grow up?
I'm a West LA kid, so it's
West LA.
around,
Okay.
yeah.
And it was, and you had a pretty good family, supportive family.
Mhm.
So not necessarily,
Church going
uh,
and, dragged me to church.
okay.
So,
Okay. But you mentioned, black man coming out of the womb. You had that BS
mhm.
belief system, right? So there was a sense of uh, um, chip on shoulder, maybe, or I mean, not saying that that isn't warranted, because that
Yeah.
is definitely, true. Those people who say that we're all equal are really on something, because it is so true that a black man born uh, in any part of the states, I just watched Till,
Yeah.
and it, that was incredibly shocking. The last line that the Emmett Till legislation, anti-lynching legislation, just only got passed this year. Like, that to me is shocking. I knew it, but if you haven't watched 13th, that is I think it's mandatory watching. So sorry, I
I
diverged.
guess you're okay.
So you started slicing through convertibles and
Mhm.
knowing you wanted more, and then sort of the screw it, I know I'm screwed, in the back of the
The squad
squad
car, yeah.
car. I mean,
They
yeah.
actually had stopped my crime partner like 3 times, 2 or 3 times, and asked him if he had seen me running around the area. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he obviously didn't look like me.
Oh, okay. He was not black.
Hmm.
Okay. Are you at liberty to say? Was he white? He
Definitely
was a
not
white,
melanated.
definitely not melanated. Okay. So you got a black and white, two young black and white males, um, starting with car mischief, and then
Well, I started
graduating
with my
to,
cars, and then
oh,
he,
okay.
yeah. So to be clear, I kind of corrupted him.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for
Yeah, we played sports together in high school together, and then yeah, he was a year
okay.
over me, but yeah,
Okay.
it was
So
my
you get to, so you get to you're booked, was it 3 strike law at all, or was it
no,
not yet? Okay.
not yet. I was still home on probation, and then continued home on probation for all of my prior offenses,
Okay.
and I wasn't mentally like fit, of course, to be tried as an adult.
How
Um,
old were you?
I was 17 at the time, and I think my
Okay.
hospitalizations with the psychiatric wards and stuff really helped with that. But yeah,
Now,
it was a toss up.
why were you in the psych ward?
Yeah, I had a whole slew of problems. I was trying to off myself and cutting, and
Okay.
um,
Ah,
I was going through
okay.
some depressive episodes, and I think
Okay.
one week I just it was
So you had untreated mental illness, is what you're telling me, right?
trying to
While
be
you're
treated,
out
but
there.
yeah.
Yeah. So you were not in your right mind. And
I wasn't in my
because
best. Yeah.
you weren't in your best mind. You were definitely it was you didn't know who you were. You were not whole inside.
I will say
And
that, yes.
okay. And you had voices in your head that probably said, um, you know, you
I told you I had voices.
deserve this. Pardon?
I told you I
Oh,
would hear voices.
no, but were you hearing voices? Because no. Let me tell you,
Sorry.
Pluto. Am I fortune telling here?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to take the credit, but the truth is that every single one of us have voices in our head. And every single one of us have this very strong critic, some of us more than others. The ones who've had childhood trauma, like myself, 7 out of 10 of us, have a very strong voice that tells us, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you don't deserve any good, you don't deserve to have a good life, you're not all that, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? Now, that voice leads to cutting, leads to offing, or offing attempts, leads to not acting in our own best interest. It leads to hating yourself, loathing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's the voice you had,
It was. Yes.
that's the same voice that 7 out of 10 of us have. And in fact, I don't know anyone except one person I interviewed who does not have that voice. When Marianne Williamson was on my show the second time, she said she did not have that voice. And I have to believe her, but I attribute it, she has a very strong discipline. So her discipline ensures that she does not hear that voice. I still hear that voice, but I don't listen to that voice. I say, thank you very much. I know that you're trying to protect me from whatever. And it was a coping mechanism as a child, but and thank you for keeping me from getting killed as a child. If I hadn't listened to you, I'd run across the street and get hit, or I'd I'd have burnt hands all the time. So thank you for that. But that was then and this is now. And I am Balance Centered Dr. Marissa, and you can relax and stop yelling at me and telling me things that aren't true. So that is the work that I think Akuyo and I are aligned in, as she brought to you the truth of who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you had those voices, and the psychotropic drugs that they gave you in the institution helped and hurt, is my guess. It helped you in some ways and hurt you in other ways.
Yeah, it was still a balance of trying to figure out the right dosages. And so I was given the medications from the hospital, and then when I got arrested, they had to switch some of them because some of them weren't, they couldn't give those ones to me, so I had to take like a slightly different form of it. But yeah, just trying to iron out the right doses, and then after I had gotten to DJJ or the YA facilities, and I was interested in fire camp to cut down my sentence time and get out of there. So one of the things I had to do was I couldn't be on psychotropic medication and go to fire camp. So I had to titrate off of that, and I worked my tail off with a darn good team of doctors at Ventura, and I ended up going to fire camp. So.
And what was that?
Fire camp. It's Pine Grove Youth Conservation Corp. It was the last fire camp that the youth YA facilities had when I was in DJJ. So.
Okay, and YA is?
Youth Authority.
Okay, and DJJ is?
Same thing. It went from YA to DJJ, and now it's probably called something else.
And DJJ stands for?
Department of Juvenile Justice.
Okay. And the good news is Akuyo announced at the event and also on my show is that whole system's being shut down, not shut down to nothing, but rehabilitated into what it needs to be, which is huge. I'm going to give another applause because the recognition that a system isn't working and taking the risk to shift it is huge. And I'm grateful that the politicians are going that way. So, okay. So then you titrated off, you went to the forest. Now, is that like out in the wilderness and you get to work out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a darn good job at this facility. I ended up not knowing that I had a bad knee and I had to get surgery. So I was pretty much stuck with a warehouse job while I was at fire camp, but it was pretty great. I was able to connect with some of the other fire crews that came in if they needed new materials or equipment or what have you, fill up their trucks, write the logs, kind of, get the whatever tea was going around, right?
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that, and it paid pretty okay. It paid pretty well for where I was.
Okay.
All
right.
I don't think I would take a $2 an hour job right now, but
right. $2 an hour, right?
I mean,
yeah. Okay.
Right?
All right. So just in case,
was a little less, which is weird. I think the adult inmates got paid less than the youth authority inmates that were working.
Interesting.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So anybody who thinks that, when you hear of inmates working, that they're actually making, so remember it's $2 or less.
Yeah.
So
very, very high.
That's yes. So, well, there are those who say you shouldn't be getting paid anything because if you do the crime, you do the time. So again, what was your sentence? What were you looking at?
So I was given an actual confinement time of 6 years, and I did not know that. When I was in the courtroom, I remember hearing something about 18 months. So from May of 2012 to, I'd say, when I actually got to YA and I was talking with the parole agent, maybe September or so, I thought that I was, 18 months, go home, we'll be all right. It didn't end up that way. It ended up overall total with the juvenile hall time. It was about 33 months. So just under 3 years. Yeah.
So that speaks to something that came out in 13th, is that the representation for Black and brown people who have committed a crime is not, can't afford, really expensive lawyers. And what is it? 98% just take the plea. And the plea says that you have to say that you're guilty, even if you're not, just because it's easier, or say that you did worse than you actually did. And that your sentence of what you thought was 18, that was more like 6 years, is a good example of that, right? You're lost in the system and you really have no voice, right? And which is, I think, one of the reasons why it's so powerful at the end of every Spirit Awakening Voices of the Unheard. You do that segment about kids who are sentenced to life or sentenced how many years, the reality of, kids who do, we're not saying that kids don't do stupid stuff, right? And they make poor decisions and but the
I feel like if you do, a crime, it's not you do the crime, you do the time. It's you do the crime, we need to figure out why, and then fix that.
I couldn't have said that better. So then when you knew, when did your air get really bad so that Akuyo's air was so good in contrast. So one, I'm sure, finding out that it wasn't 18 months. So the promises made or whatever the agreement was, so that tanked. What else happened that got you to that low?
Just being, separated from, family and loved ones is hard enough as it is. Going through, in this time of the year when I was first arrested, it was very cold and it was in Silmar. When I got there, the same unit that Mama Akuyoe came and like where we met, we didn't have enough rooms for everybody. We had kids sleeping in the floor on the day room in like these metal, or not metal, but like hard plastic, like tub like boats or whatever. So dealing with that, not being able to go to the restroom when I want to, people like looking at me when I'm going to the restroom, the food was, terrible. And so all of these things, and you look around and you see all of the other people that you're with, and you start to like wonder about yourself. Like, am I really supposed to be here? Do I really deserve this? Am I the nothing that they said I am? So all of these thoughts start to weigh in on you, and there's not a lot of positivity that's there, right? When people say you come out a better person or a better criminal, it's like for whatever reason, most people when they're in there talk about their crimes, more crimes, other crimes that they want to do and stuff like that. So all of this stuff is just perpetuated, and it'll drag you down, It's not necessarily easy, and kudos to everyone who has maintained a positive headspace and stayed out of the way of the, drugs, violence, and tattoos and cell phones or whatever of their institution. But I think all of that combined is what essentially made it so refreshing when she came in and was able to just bring that breath of fresh air,
Whoop, we lost your microphone here.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. That's okay. So let's I want to just close, but because I want more poetry. You're not getting away with just that little bit that you did at the beginning. Okay. But it sounds like it's true that in the system, it's almost worse. So there is access to drugs. There is access to, getting worse. There is access to, teaming up with people who are going to make sure that you get back into trouble. Or, I've heard that, the reason why recidivism is so high is because, there is a sense of bad community in there. They become your family. And when you come out, you're treated so badly. Even if you've done the time, you can't get a job, you've got a mark, it doesn't get any better, then it's easier just to go back into the system. So that does sound like you're saying it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, it's not, you make a very conscious choice to, and I think the way that I would like say it all the time was that anything that was going to keep me here, then the shortest amount of time that I can get out, I wasn't dealing with. So cell phones, fights, tattoos. I did all of my tattoos when I was in high school before I had gotten arrested. So when they found that out, they were like, "Oh yeah, can you ink me?" And I was like, "No, bro. I had a whole kit. I don't know how to do what you jerry rigged, but and then I had stencils. I didn't, like just freehand stuff. So, but also I should also note that I didn't have any gang affiliations, and so that was also, it was very easy to just be the weird kid, So
yeah.
I'm not going to say that if you don't have gang ties, you're not expected to, jump into these riots or whatever when they happen. But there's a different amount of pressure on you.
Let's just conclude with saying the system does not work. The system was not going to fix what was broken inside of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So breath of fresh air, Akuyoe Graham comes in, talks to you, keeps her promises, and then you discover your gift, which is your poetry. So if you've just tuned in, we're going to hear another wonderful selection from my resident Amanda Gorman, also known as Poet Pluto Brown. Please share with us more of your insight with the gift of word.
10-4. I'm just going to sift through here and pick one for you.
Yeah. And if you could speak directly into the mic, that would be great.
Okay. Oof. Hoping to conquer these halls before I'm condemned to and held captive by these four walls. Now, I could fight, I could climb, but I have enough time before I fall. It's such a bummer that just like a summer, it always follows the rise. It's got me feeling like Humpty Dumpty, all out of place with too much time. And yeah, I can get read my rights, but you can't read me right, which is almost irrelevant because I can't give you a mouthful of subliminals. Anything I do now has the scent and the tint of a criminal, just a specimen in a petri dish poked and prodded for answers. These are answers to questions that I'm not equipped to handle. It's no wonder I'm coming undone and dismantled. Yes, I might be damaged, but I'm not water under the bridge. I don't know, I guess I get it. There are times when I can understand it. The way of this world is to get a box for a present, if you can find one big enough to fit it. You come out a better person or a better criminal is almost a truth that seems biblical. But they can only bury me if I allow them to. Put me in these shackles and these cement shoes or trap me in these walls. But like that lump in the sidewalk you trip over when you're walking your dog, I am the poster child for resilience and Godspeed. The symbol of suppression meets triumph and defeat, i.e. that tree that refused to be beaten broke through the concrete. But it starts with me, and it starts with a seed. And in order to breathe, there are certain things that I need, like vitamin D. This process of photosynthesis cannot be complete. I mean, in the event that society and I weren't crippling me and I had a ladder that was like 10 feet and I were able to reach that peak, wink, wink, I'm glad you're still with me visually, because I still wouldn't have been enough time for the message to be received. You can take it from me. I was the bronze and the mastermind behind the scenes pulling the strings. So you should know that if I could, and while you might say that I should, I wouldn't change any of it at all. If I were tall and I were strong, I wouldn't break or climb that wall. That would be the equivalent to me burning a book that I don't know, read and fell in love with. So maybe it's not that I can't do it, but I won't do it. So the truth is, I'm thankful for everything that I've gone through because I am who I am today because of it.
I love that. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I got shivers. Dang.
That was actually one of the first, I started to rewrite this one. And that was actually the first page of the first notebook that's like hoping to conquer these halls is the first words that I ever wrote in juvenile hall. So
Wow. And you say the words are part of your healing, right? That you I didn't even know that this was like a medium until I heard Amanda Gorman at the inauguration. I had heard that, spoken word was something that I heard that expression, spoken word, but I had no idea the power of both as the writer, the internal healing and the external hearing, healing and hearing. And that's it inspired me actually to go and put word together for my first short film called PPP Post-Pandemic Possibilities. I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link and see what you think of it. But that was amazing. And before we leave, I want one more short one, but when you're a peer at Spirit Awakening and you're sitting with kids who are at juvenile hall and you see them having the same kinds of voices in their head, what's the message, or what have you learned that is most effective and least effective in working with kids who don't believe in themselves?
It's it's not positive reinforcement. It's positive, like, disciplining and like motivational interviewing. So I think those tactics, after being on this side of it and being, peer mentoring and going through some of the trainings and stuff that I've had to go through, I realized that these were very effective in me. So I go into the exercises, I'm like, I don't want to say like they got me, but it's like,
yeah, they got you.
It seems you did, and I'm so thankful for it, But
yeah, that's great.
Asking those open-ended questions to be able to, point to the resilience that's in them. One of my favorite things is like people don't see a way out, oftentimes. And I'm like, all right, this isn't the first time you've been there, right? The last time you're going to make it out, what happened? Still here, So pointing out that resilience factor and that, sometimes they just don't really have a choice but to make it out. You either get adjusted to whatever is going on or you get up and get out of it, right? But bare minimum, you'll be all right because humans just acclimate to stuff, right? So yeah, that's a different conversation. But yeah, I think those are the better tactics that have helped me and that I continue to use.
Mm-hmm. Is there truth to, a person really has to be ready to hear it before they can hear it? I mean, what prepares people to be more open to hear, to be ready? And by the way, Akuyo is on, I just put on Instagram Live and she's there and she's sending her love. And I had earbuds in, Akuyo, because it eliminates the echo. That's why you couldn't hear him. But on the stream, you can hear him. But I just changed it so we might have a little echo, but at least we can hear Pluto for the remainder. We have 2 minutes. Do you have a 1 minute share?
That's a tough one there. Some of them are a little lengthier.
If you've just tuned in, you are looking at Poet Pluto Brown. He's a peer mentor, poet, and graduate, I should say, of Spirit Awakening Foundation that is founded by my satellite sister, Akuyoe Graham. You saw her in studio with me last week. And thank you for joining us on Instagram, LA City Prop, T. Barnes, Joe Marcy, and all of you who are streaming live. It's been a wonderful hour with Pluto. I encourage you, if you've just tuned in, to go to my YouTube channel where you can get the entire show and listen to his art and craft and a wonderful visual and audio story and sharing what he has gone through. And we are out of time, unfortunately, but we did get two great, fabulous poet word from Pluto. Thank you so much for coming in the live studio again. I wish you the very best. It's so wonderful seeing you again.
Thank you.
You know the drill. It's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Dr. Marissa reporting live from her living room with Poet Pluto Brown here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. Have the best.